Okay, so if you're in the construction business, you're likely always thinking about getting that competitive edge. And technology is obviously a huge part of that conversation.
Definitely.
But here's the thing we've been digging into. Is just signing up for the same software everyone else uses, is that really enough anymore? It's going to set you apart.
Well, that's hitting the nail on the head, isn't it? That's the big strategic question facing construction companies right now. They have access to amazing tools, sure, but do they actually control their tech destiny?
Exactly. Which brings us to this concept, enterprise AI sovereignty, specifically for construction. Sounds a bit futuristic, maybe.
In a little, yeah.
But based on the document we've been analyzing, it seems to represent a really fundamental shift, a power shift, potentially, that could make a huge difference for the leading firms.
And this isn't just theory. The source we looked at gives a very practical view, specifically from the perspective of CIOs, chief information officers at large construction firms.
Right, the people actually making these massive tech decisions on the ground.
Exactly. They're on the front lines.
So our mission, let's say, for this deep dive is to unpack what enterprise AI sovereignty really means for you, our listeners. Why is it such a buzzword now? And maybe most importantly, what are the real-world implications?
Okay, sounds good. Where should we start?
Let's start with the challenge. What's the core problem, the dilemma these CIOs are facing, according to the source?
Well, the document spells it out pretty clearly. They're kind of caught between these huge established software platforms. Think OpenSpace, Autodesk, Bentley systems, those kinds of names.
The industry standards, basically.
Right. And on the other hand, they have the very unique, often proprietary ways their own companies actually get work done, their specific processes.
Okay, so you have these giants offering really sophisticated tools, no question. But the document we read highlighted some, well, pretty big downsides to just relying on them.
Oh, definitely. Things like the subscription models, for one, you're paying constantly. And then there's the data issue. You don't truly own the data or the insights generated from your data.
Ah, okay. So you're essentially renting the capability.
Precisely. The software is powerful, yeah, but the insights often stay locked within their ecosystem. Getting it out, owning it, manipulating it freely, that can be tough.
And I guess they're built for everyone, right? So they can't be perfectly adapted to my company's specific workflow.
That's a major point. These platforms have to cater to a broad market, which limits how much they can bend to your company's unique operational DNA, the stuff you've perfected over years. And yeah, those subscription costs just keep adding up.
It's almost like you're paying them to learn from your own projects, but you don't get to keep the resulting intelligence.
Kind of, yeah.
And the document really emphasized that the CIO, they know their company inside out. The little nuances, the best practices developed internally, how things really work on site.
That internal knowledge, that perspective, it's invaluable. They have this deep boots on the ground understanding of what's really needed, organizational insights that no generic software, no matter how clever, can fully capture. And that sets the stage for this idea of enterprise AI sovereignty. It's the proposed solution, taking back control, owning your intelligence.
So instead of just subscribing, the idea is to, what, build your own intelligence layer, create customized systems in-house.
That's the core concept. It's a significant shift, definitely.
It sounds massive. How does the document suggest companies actually do that, build their own intelligence?
Right, this is where it gets interesting. The document introduces two key ideas: the autonomous AI platform and perspective capsules.
Okay, break those down. Autonomous AI platform.
Think of it as your company's own central tech brain, a core intelligence hub that you own completely. And crucially, it's not static software you install. It's dynamic, always learning, always improving, tailored specifically to you.
A living system almost.
Okay.
And the perspective capsules.
Yeah.
PCs, what are they?
So the perspective capsules, or PCs, are described as these modular layers of AI-powered software. The really clever bit is they're designed to replicate the core intelligence or the domain perspective of established, successful construction AI tools out there.
So not just copying features, but capturing the underlying logic or viewpoint.
Exactly. It's about encoding the why and how those tools work, their specific understanding of the construction domain.
And the document mentioned these are often built offshore. And based on like reverse engineering existing tech,
Yeah.
that sounds complex.
It requires expertise, for sure. But the strategy is sound, according to the source. By using global engineering talent and deeply analyzing existing solutions, These capsules can be built relatively quickly and cost-effectively.
And the kicker is?
The construction company that commissions them gets full ownership. The source code, the embedded knowledge, all the IP rights, everything.
Wow. Okay, so you get the smarts of established systems, but it's completely yours. That flips the script on control, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And a key driver, the document points out, is that the actual cost of making software has plummeted. It's not this insurmountable barrier anymore.
Right. Moore's law and all that applied to software creation itself.
Sort of, yeah. So companies can now realistically build tailored alternatives, solutions designed for their specific operational needs, avoiding vendor lock-in, achieving true platform sovereignty. It's about owning the intelligence, not just renting a program.
Okay, that makes sense. So we have this central autonomous AI platform and these perspective capsules slotting in specific abilities. What does the platform itself do? How does it work day to day?
Well, it's designed to be really adaptive. It learns by spotting patterns in your company's workflows, finding opportunities for optimization, suggesting improvements.
How does it learn?
From your project data, from how your teams interact with it. And critically, it retrains itself on this new information constantly, so it gets smarter and more aligned with your business over time.
So definitely not install and forget. It's an active participant. And the examples of perspective capsules in the document were quite concrete, weren't they? Inspired by tools people might already know.
Exactly. Like imagine a capsule inspired by, say, OpenSpace. It could automate progress tracking using 360-degree photos and computer vision, real-time updates on how things are going on site.
Okay, I can see that. What else?
Or maybe one inspired by Togler.ai, focused on building internal tools. Think about using natural language, just plain English, to create a new workflow or automate a repetitive task without needing a whole dev team. That uno code aspect, that's huge for agility.
Yeah, being able to spin up custom tools quickly internally, that sounds incredibly useful.
Yeah.
And then there were examples related to design and modeling, like Autodesk or Bentley.
Right. An Autodesk-inspired PC might handle advanced architectural modeling, maybe generative design, exploring options you hadn't thought of, and managing all your BIM data.
And Bentley.
A Bentley Systems-inspired one could focus on creating real-time digital twins of infrastructure projects, providing live intelligence for managing assets, optimizing operations.
And this seems crucial based on the document. These aren't just clones. They're built differently.
Absolutely critical point. They are tailored, refined, built around the specific operational DNA, the unique processes of your construction business. It's not SaaS, software as a service. It's more like intelligence infrastructure, your own.
That distinction feels really important. Moving beyond generic tools to something truly bespoke, reflecting how your company actually works.
That's the whole game. That's the differentiator.
Or this platform sounds powerful. But the document also mentioned pillars of self-governance. Autonomy. What makes it truly autonomous, not just another complex system needing constant vendor support?
Yeah, this is where it gets really core to the sovereignty idea. First pillar, self-learning. As we mentioned, it updates itself using your live project data, not waiting for vendor patches.
Okay, continuous improvement from within.
Second, perspective embedding. This is about actually encoding your company's specific logic, processes, even the unique vocabulary you use directly into the algorithms.
So it speaks our language, understands our way of doing things, not just generic industry terms.
Exactly. Third is tool generation, empowering your own teams to build new tools, dashboards, simple automations using natural language or no-code interfaces. It reduces dependency on external developers for every little thing.
That speeds things up massively, I'd imagine.
Hugely. And the final pillar is a governance layer, a transparent way for your internal teams to see what the AI is doing, how it's evolving, and to guide its decisions. Control, auditability.
That transparency and internal control, that sounds absolutely essential for trust. You need to know it's aligned with your goals.
You do. And this level of autonomy, the document argues, transforms AI from just a tool you use into more of a strategic partner you collaborate with.
That is a significant leap. It shifts the power dynamic, as you said.
Yeah.
You're not just dependent on what the vendor decides to build next.
Right. You're driving your own AI evolution.
Now, the document also brings in a company, CodeNinja, calling them prospective partners. What's their specific role in making this happen?
CodeNinja is presented as sort of the facilitator or enabler of this sovereignty. Their whole approach starts with understanding and then encoding that crucial domain knowledge, the perspective we talked about. They see that as the most valuable and hardest part.
So less about just slinging code, more about deeply understanding the construction business first.
Precisely. The document highlights a few things they do. partnering with universities for cutting-edge AI research, embedding their consultants inside construction firms to really learn the ropes and capture that tribal knowledge.
Tribal knowledge, I like that term, the stuff that isn't written down.
Exactly. And then they provide the muscle, large offshore engineering teams to actually build and maintain these complex AI systems efficiently.
So they act like a strategic extension, helping the construction company bridge the gap between their internal expertise and actually building their own intelligent platform.
That's a great way to put it. They bring the specialized AI know-how and the engineering horsepower needed to turn the company's internal perspective into working autonomous AI systems and perspective capsules.
Okay, and then the document provided a specific example, right? OpenQuant. To make this more concrete, what was that about?
Yeah, OpenQuant sounds fascinating. It's described as a real-time digital twin platform developed with Cost King Abdullah University of Science and Technology in Saudi Arabia.
And its purpose.
Its first major use case was managing the spatial dynamics of millions of pilgrims during events like the Hajj. Just imagine the scale of tracking and coordinating that many people safely.
Wow. That's crowd management on an epic scale.
Yeah.
Far beyond a typical building site.
Absolutely. The platform uses all sorts of live data sensors, satellite feeds, CCTV to build this dynamic model of how crowds are moving.
And what can they do with that model?
They can simulate interventions. What if we close this road, predict potential bottlenecks before they happen, guide real-time adjustments to flow, and even inform longer-term decisions about where to build new infrastructure.
That's powerful. Understanding and managing complex flows and pinch points. And the connection to construction. How does that translate?
The document makes the point that the underlying principles are highly relevant. Managing complex logistics, ensuring safety, optimizing the flow of people, materials, equipment. That's crucial for big construction projects, too.
Like airports, stadiums, maybe large infrastructure builds.
Exactly. Anywhere you have that complex coordination challenge, it's about getting that real-time visibility and predictive power in complex operational environments, whether it's pilgrims or construction crews and deliveries.
Makes sense. Now, going back to CodeNinja's approach, the document detailed their consulting model. It sounded very involved, very embedded.
It does. It's not about dropping off a report and leaving. They emphasize putting their AI consultants right into the project teams, the operations teams.
Why so embedded?
So they can do deep dives, interviewing everyone from frontline staff up to project managers, architects, engineers. The goal is to really capture and document that tribal knowledge we mentioned.
Those unwritten rules, the workarounds, the real best practices that make the company tick.
Exactly. The stuff that's critical but rarely makes it into a formal process map.
And once they have that understanding, that perspective,
then they map it to specific AI modules, basically designing the perspective capsules. Their engineers build them, deploy them within the company's system, and then crucially, they monitor how they perform in the real world.
and feed that back into the system.
Right. It's this continuous loop. Consult, design, deploy, optimize. The real-world usage and feedback constantly refines the AI's logic. It ensures the AI keeps learning and stays relevant to the business's actual evolving needs.
That iterative approach seems vital for long-term value. Okay, so finally, the document wrapped up with a pretty bold statement about a major strategic shift happening. What was the takeaway there?
Yeah, the conclusion was quite provocative. Something like, we're at the end of SaaS as we know it.
The end of software as a service. That's big.
The argument is that with powerful generative AI tools and open source becoming so accessible, just renting standard software doesn't give you a unique edge anymore. Everyone can rent the same tools.
So the advantage shifts.
It shifts to the companies that can effectively take their own unique experience, their hard-won knowledge, and turn that into proprietary software, into their own intelligence.
So it's not about the generic tools everyone has, but about encoding your company's specific secret sauce, essentially, into your own systems.
That's the core idea. Enterprise AI sovereignty isn't just presented as some fleeting trend, it's framed as a fundamental strategic necessity, the way construction firms will differentiate, scale efficiently, and ultimately lead in the future.
Right. So if we boil it all down, the main message seems to be, take control of your AI. Embed your company's unique perspective, your deep knowledge, into systems you actually own. That's where the real sustainable competitive advantage lies in construction now.
Well put. It's about moving past the limitations of just renting off-the-shelf solutions and truly owning your technological future.
It's recognizing that all that experience your company has built up, That's an incredibly valuable asset.
And it can be turned into proprietary intelligence that gives you a real lasting edge.
So for everyone listening, the question becomes, how could this idea, this enterprise AI sovereignty, apply in your world? What are those unique workflows, that deep tribal knowledge within your own company that could become the heart of your own intelligence systems?
And maybe that leads to the final thought to chew on. As the price of basic software keeps falling, what is the unique knowledge, the specific process know-how inside your construction business that could be translated into genuinely proprietary AI, something that creates lasting value and a competitive moat that others can't easily cross?
It's definitely about looking beyond just subscribing and thinking about how to truly own your intelligence to secure your future in this industry.
Absolutely. A lot to think about there.